Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Janaran Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihar Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Kunja Vihari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stottashat Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stottashat Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki. Jai Anantikoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki. Jai Shri Vrindavan Dhama Ki. Jai Shri Mayapur Dham Ki. Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Ajnanatamidandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhaivacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Shunyavadi Paschatadeshatarine. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam class. I wasn't sure how this morning would go, whether it would be like fully packed because everyone's supercharged, or like this because everyone's pooped and tired after 2 days of fasting and feasting and strange bedtimes. But so thank you for coming. Greatly appreciate it. Although Prabhupada did say if no one is there, you can preach to the 4 walls, but I much appreciate having faces along the walls. That makes a big difference for me, so thank you very much. Okay, I do beg for your blessings that I may say something of use. So, hello, please come in. Something beneficial, something purifying for myself and for yourselves also. And please forgive me for any mistakes or transgressions that I may make. Okay, so we've got 2 verses today because the first one has a very wee purport, ecstatic but small. So we'll do 2 verses today. We'll go 1 verse at a time, so 4 lines at a time. Bhagavantam parikramya. Excuse me. Pranipatyanumanya cha Pratijamu pramudita Samshanto Vaishnavim Shriyam. And the second is Bhagavan Anugavaha Yatamma Vaishtamastusham Brahma Teja Samartopi Hantum Niche Matam Tume Bhagavantam Parikramya Pranipatyanumanya cha Pratijamu Pramudita Shamsanto Vaishnavim Shriyam Bhagavan Anugav Aha Yatamma Vaishtam Astusam Brahma Teja Samotopi Hantum Niche Matam Tume. Alright, 2 for the price of 1. Would anyone like to have a go? Twice the fun. That's quite alright. I've already done it for you, so we can go forward together. Bhagavantam parikramya pranipatyanumanya cha pratijamu pramudita shamshanto vaishnavim shriyam Bhagavan Anugavaha Yatamma Vaishtamastusam Brahma Teja Samatopi Hamtum Neche Matam Tume Haribo. Very good. Oh, with the kid as well. Far out. Bhagavantam parikramya pranipatyanumanya cha pratijamu pramudita shamsanto vaishnavim shriyam Bhagavan Anugavaha Yatamma Vaishtamastusam Brahma Teja Samartopi Hantum Niche Matam Tume. Hare Krishna. Okay. We could squeeze in some word for word. Bhagavantam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Parikramya, after circumambulating. Pranipatya, after offering obeisances. Anumanya, after learning. Cha, and. Pratijamu, returned. Pramuditaha, extremely delighted. Samsanta, glorifying. Vaishnavim, of the Vaishnavas. Shriyam, opulence. Okay, 1 down, 1 to go. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anugo, to his 2 attendants. Aha, said. Yatam, depart from this place. Ma, let there not be. Vaishtam, fear. Astu, let there be. Some, happiness. Brahma, of a Brahmana. Teja, the curse. Samartaha, being able. Api, even. Hantum, to nullify. Na iche, to not desire. Matam, approved. 2, on the contrary, me, by me. Okay, any questions? No, we've still got time. So, the verses are by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The sages circumambulated the Supreme Lord, offered their obeisances and returned, extremely delighted at learning of the divine opulences of the Vaishnava. Purport. It is still a respectful practice to circumambulate the Lord in Hindu temples. Especially in Vaishnava temples, there is an arrangement for people to offer their respects to the deity and circumambulate the temple at least 3 times. Verse 29. The Lord then said to his attendants, Jai and Vijay, depart this place, but fear not, all glories unto you. Though I am capable of nullifying the Brahmana's curse, I would not do so. On the contrary, it has my approval. As explained in the connection with text 26, all the incidences that took place had the approval of the Lord. Ordinarily, there is no possibility that the 4 sages could be so angry with the doorkeepers, nor could the Supreme Lord neglect his 2 doorkeepers, nor can one come back from Vaikuntha after once taking birth there. All these incidences, therefore, were designed by the Lord himself for the sake of his pastimes in the material world. Thus, he plainly says that it was done with his approval. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for inhabitants of Vaikuntha to come back to this material world simply because of a Brahminical curse. Please excuse me. The Lord especially blesses the so-called culprits, all glories unto you. A devotee once accepted by the Lord can never fall down. That is the conclusion of this incident. Exactly. Okay, Hare Krishna. So, as we started this whole last week has been very filled with ecstatic celebrations of Lord Balaram and Krishna's divine appearance on Janmashtami and yesterday's Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. So the mood is definitely in that of grandeur, but of developing this nice personal relationship with the Supreme, the spiritual master, and learning and reflecting on the qualities that they impart and teach us. The main themes running... How good's Lego? The main themes running through most of this chapter actually, but these 2 verses particularly which we're looking at is that of humility, tolerance, taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and also the Spiritual Master, surrender, and ultimately following the instructions of these personalities. That's quite integral to these 2 verses, but of course everywhere, but since we're looking at these 2 verses, that's what we'll talk about. So since they are quite layered, these verses, or all Bhagavatam verses, it's really valuable not to merely inspect what's on the page, just at face value, just inspecting the words as they're transcribed and the purports, but actually really introspect with what we're reading as well. So it's not merely just inspecting, but introspecting the Bhagavatam. This is how we can actually apply what we're learning to our lives, which is the point. It's not just gyan, just straight knowledge. So we'll start with the first verse, and I'm going to keep this here so I can refer to it. Very good. The 4 Kumaras mention, or the 4 Kumaras at least, make note of the divine opulences of a Vaishnava. So what are these divine opulences of a Vaishnava that they're so amazed by? And it's what we just spoke of here: the humility, the tolerance, the following following their duty, following their dharma, like this. These are the divine opulences, at least explained in these parts here. We can see earlier in the chapter that Krishna himself comes to the 4 Kumaras, which is kind of funny in a way, but the 4 Kumaras were impersonalists. They didn't have this relationship with Krishna as this personal feature. They had an impersonal relationship with Krishna, and yet here they are at the gates, and then he comes personally, and so they're ecstatic about it. And then Krishna is saying, oh, you've cursed my intendants, you've cursed my doorkeepers. That's actually my fault. Krishna took it on. Not saying, yeah, absolutely, you deserve to curse them. They deserve to be, to leave Vaikuntha their nonsense. They said, no, it's mine. And please, if there's anything I can do to rectify this, I'll even give you part of my body. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who's saying, I will actually give you myself. Please, if that's what it takes for you to be appeased in this situation. How much love Krishna has for the Brahmanas, for the Vaishnavas, for his devotees like this. How much instruction there is in that. Krishna, we understand that Krishna has 6 opulences in full: strength, beauty, wealth, fame, knowledge, and renunciation. Exactly. And so here we have Krishna, who's everything in full, the source of all sources, and he's here saying, I will give you myself if that's going to appease you in this situation. I mean, that to me is a pretty high level of renunciation, at least, of saying, I will give you whatever it means if you're upset because of my doorkeepers, my servants, the persons that are under my watch. So I think that's very telling as to the opulences of a Vaishnava, what we're trying to cultivate as well here. At least in text 28, it says the sages circumambulated the Supreme Lord, and then Prabhupada in his purport makes a highlight that temples around the world, Hindu temples and Vaishnava temples, there is an arrangement for people to offer like this circumambulation. So what is a circumambulation actually doing? Apart from just ritualistically walking around something, not saying that's what we're doing, but the potential is there to be like, okay, well, there's a path around here. I'm going to walk around there and stick my head in the kitchen, see what's for breakfast. Is not the point of having this path around the temple, at least in the morning time anyway, in this Brahma Muhurta hour. The point is, we can see, as far as if you're interested in etymology, the origin of these words, to circumambulate or parikrama, is pradakshina. So we have that with Tulsi Arti. Pradakshina pade pade. As we're walking around yani kani chapapani like this. So why? What is it? So it actually has a meaning. It's not as simple as the English language is. The Sanskrit is so deeply laden with meaning. So it's important for us to understand why we're doing things and what it's saying here. So this is at face value. It seems like the Kumaras just circled around Krishna and said, like, thanks and bye. It wasn't. It's so deep. So it says in the Skanda Purana, the etymology is pra is to dispel sin. Da bestows what is desired. Kshi causes destruction of karma. And na bestows salvation. So like that. So circumambulating the deity or a form of Krishna is Tulsi, or the deity form, the spiritual master, the Murti of Srila Prabhupada, the temple in itself, which is a holy tirtha, is so important. Understanding why we're doing these things adds a lot of value and a lot of potency to our activities and stops it being ritual and brings it into the spiritual. It's the understanding as to why we're doing these things. And not only that, you think physically what is circumambulation is to put something in the center of our activities, of our lives, and circling it. So as we're circling, say, Krishna, in this instance, Vishnu, he's in the center of activities of their life. And then walking around to do these things, dispelling sin and destroying karma and bestowing benedictions, etc. So it's like this. It's very comprehensive, and for us to actually introspect what we're reading and actually try and understand what is going on, as opposed to going at face value, they circled around Krishna and said, see you later. I mean, that's very paraphrasing, as I hope you understand. We understand also, if any of you have been, I know you've definitely been to India, you've been to India, my wife and I were in India earlier this year, and there was the famous Govardhana parikrama of Govardhana Hill, which takes the better part of a day. Vrindavan parikrama, down Navadvip Dham, Mando parikrama. There's so many amazing things, and it's to understand when we're doing things, what we're doing, what's going on there. That adds the richness and the texture, and that's the beauty of these things like that. Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which we know in the summarized version of Nectar of Devotion, he lists as one of the 64 items of devotional service is to circumambulate the deity. So like this. So it's putting all these things together. It's not just come up because it seems like a nice way to japa ourselves in the morning. It is, but there's more depth to it in itself. It just goes on and on and on. It's amazing. I mean, there was 10 full days we learned in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Rupa Goswami spent with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We learned this 10 full days of constant Krishna Katha, of learning what is devotion and love of Godhead. 10 full days, and then at the end, you know what Krishna said to him? That was just a drop of the ocean of nectar, which is bhakti, and that's where the ocean of nectar, bhakti, rasamrita, so a drop. And then our Prabhupada condenses the droplet again into a summarized version of Nectar of Devotion. And then when we're studying that in something like Bhakti Shastra, we only read half of it. So you think, like, just how much is there? Like, we're just trying to figure out how to just do the simplest thing, but it's like when you expand it out into its original form, it's like limitless. It's quite extraordinary. So it's like, get deviated by all these sort of different things. Anyway, that's the first verse. Second verse, Hare Krishna. The second verse says, the Lord then said to his attendants, Jai and Vijay, depart this place, but fear not. All glories unto you. Though I am capable of nullifying the Brahmana's curse, I would not do so. On the contrary, it has my approval. Wow. Okay. So that's pretty significant for Jai and Vijay to now practice their humility, which is, again, the theme that's running through all of this. They're not kicking up some big tantrum, I certainly remember. So I've got an older brother, and when I was young, he liked teaching me all the wrong words that I should be learning, and then saying, go and say it to mum. All right, so I'll get in a stack of trouble, and I'll protest, saying, it's not my fault. He made me say it. It's not me. Like, don't send me like the dreaded timeout zone in the house. I was like, horrible. But here we've got not just timeout for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, a year, 20 years. It's 3 lifetimes. Jai and Vijay was sent away from Vaikunta, a place literally without anxiety, free from anxiety. Vaikunta, free from anxiety. There's like this place like this, eternally residing, free from anxiety. It's like, go to the material world. Oh, like, but nothing. There wasn't a protest. They just took it. So they understood that their supreme authority was Krishna, and that his instruction, knowing past, present, future, the power of the Brahmins and their curse, like this, and say, I don't fully understand all this. I must have made a mistake, even though Krishna kind of took responsibility for it. I'm still going to suffer for it, but there must be a bigger reason for it. And Krishna says, fear not to them. Like, fear, okay, well, I mean, there's a lot of things to fear in this world, it seems, but then a devotee is meant to be fearless. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, Sarva dharmam parityaja, mamekam sharanam vraja, aham tvam sarva pabebhyo, mokshayishami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender unto me, I shall deliver you. What? Do not fear. Do not fear. That's so important. It's not a small thing for Krishna to say, don't, like, just, if you do this, there's literally nothing for you to worry about. That's pretty wonderful. I think that's a pretty nice of comforting factor to always come back to just the All right, we're going to figure this out. Don't worry. Otherwise, it'll just be our class. So that's there. And this incident here of being cursed by a Brahmana, there's so many littered through the Bhagavatam, or at least a handful that I could think of. The origin of the Srimad Bhagavatam is Pariksit Maharaj being cursed by Shringi, the little Brahmin boy, out of what? Anger, out of a mistake that he didn't really understand. And he was cursed, and then it also describes, Prabhupada describes in his purport, that Pariksit Maharaj could have nullified the curse. And again, much like this, it had Krishna's sanction and approval, and he took it humbly and understand, going, okay. And he wasn't just like you or I that was cursed and we had to go and live in a forest or something like this. He had a whole he had so much wealth and family and opulence and prestige. He was the emperor of the world. He's like, I'm out. I got cursed. I'm gonna try and perfect my life. And he did. 7 days, 7 nights. Just to hear the Bhagavatam, what to speak of then Rupa Goswami. Anyway, I'm digressing. But you understand, even a curse done out of anger, it is up to a Vaishnav to practice that humility, that tolerance, that understanding, going, Krishna is actually the one in control, not me. And I'm going to wear that on my head and go forward with the understanding that Krishna knows past, present, future. This is clearly going to be something like this. So this is like a larger thing to try and understand, not so easy. But here we are. Another incident, the sons of Kuvera. Narada sent them down, enjoying all the opulences, and they sent them down. He sent them down to be trees. I mean, that's not really the most enjoyable situation to be sent down. At least, Jai and Vijay could be demons and acting out and enjoying and doing other things. Like, what are trees doing? Not much. Anyhow, but they weren't harsh. The Vaishnavas aren't harsh. They took it and go, all right, I'll try to understand as the best of my ability and move forward. Much like Maharaj Pariksit being cursed, and the sons of Kuvera and Jai and Vijay, there needed to be this origin for something much greater to occur. And what was the great thing to occur from Jai and Vijay being sent down to the earth was 3 great sets. Yeah, great sets of demons in 3 different ages. Through the ages. So Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu in Satya Yuga, Ravana and Kumbhakarna in Treta Yuga, and Shishupal and Dantavakra in Dwapara Yuga. These had to happen, all these pastimes, and from there was little sparks of pastimes that also occurred. So just from something as simple as the 4 Kumaras getting furious and saying, what they did, all of these things got to happen. So this is the understanding, rather than them being, yeah, Krishna, you owe me big time. No, it all happened exactly how it had to, and this is what we need to learn. And all glories to you, says Krishna, all glories. What's glorious about being cursed? Not much. But the glory is in how we receive it. The glory is how we receive the potential or apparent setbacks in life that happen. That's the glorious. The glorious act, the glory in us is how we're then going to actually respond to these incidences. And this is where, again, just reading this at face value, just inspecting the literature isn't going to allow you to penetrate into it. Really introspect what we're talking about here and introspect what we're reading. That's why Prabhupada said these books for the next 10,000 years. I mean, it's going to take a long time to really understand. I don't want to be here for the next 10,000 years, but as far as actually spending this lifetime trying to understand and apply these things, it's pretty fabulous. Krishna on the battlefield again says, Tad vidi pranipatena pariprashnena seveya uparekshanti te jnanyam jnaninas tattva darshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master and inquire from him how? Submissively, and render service unto him. Why? Because the spiritual master has learnt the truth, and through that behavior he can impart that truth to you. So it's all of this, approaching in the right mood, being humble, accepting what little or lot comes to you like this, and then understanding that Krishna promises that we'll be, okay. Well, at least come back to him anyway. Prabhupada, in that purport, I wrote it because it's just wonderful, and I don't want to butcher it. For that verse, Tadvidi Pranipatena, Prabhupada says in his purport, unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master, and when he sees genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. And in this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. So having all this right attitude, the attitude is so important. Why are we doing these things? Not just doing it out of blind faith and ritual or absurdity. Krishna knows past, present, and future. Prabhupada how many times says, just do this, perfect your life in this one life. It's going to be pretty powerful. Thank you. Evam parampara praptim. This knowledge has been handed down through disciplic succession. It's not Prabhupada's conjuring. He was always saying like his glory, his strength was through his spiritual master. And his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, said it was through his spiritual master. And he was so scholarly. And his spiritual master was illiterate. So how does that make sense? It's because it's from something much greater than just textbook knowledge. It's something so much bigger. Arjuna, who is us on the battlefield in the, not even analogy, but it says Arjuna is speaking for us. And he says, Karpanya doso pahata svabhavaha. He had miserly weakness. He approached Krishna, who was just his mate. He said, I'm sorry, I was sitting on bed with you, I was eating with you, I was treating you just like another normal person, but you're the Supreme Personality of God. He said, I have miserly weakness. I've lost my composure. I don't know what to do, so please tell me. And that's really, really, really important, saying, I don't actually know what to do, so I'm going to submit myself in the humble state of mind. All of this, it's just repeated time and time and time again. This manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru is said in chapters 9 and 18. Always think of me, become my devotee. You'll come to me, and I promise you that. I promise if you do these things. And he says it twice because we're halfway through the Bhagavad Gita. Go, oh, this is nice, I think I've got an idea. And then you get to the end, you say, I'm just going to tell you again, just in case you've forgotten, because we are in Kali Yuga after all, okay? We might going to forget these things, so I'm going to just at least say it again. There might be a chance of you knowing what I'm saying like this. I promise you, because why? You are my very dear friend. What a friend. So wonderful. Yesterday we're hearing so much from, we're surrounded by Srila Prabhupada's direct Diksha disciples. That was blissful. It was so wonderful getting to hear all their little interactions that they had, all small in time, but it lasted them a lifetime. And then they pass it to us, and then we read. So my obsession books is this, Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All. And if we have time, which I probably won't because I'm talking a lot, there's something in there I was going to read. But anyway, these books, Shruta Kirti's book, any of the disciples that are bringing out these books, just these stories, my goodness, amazing. Anyway, why am I saying this? Prabhupada read his own books. Disciples would talk about going into his room, and he would practice what he told us to do. He'd be in the afternoon, it would be his time, bhajan, chanting, reading his books. Prabhupada said, I didn't write these. I translated, and Krishna told me what to write. Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, they told me what to write. And that's no small thing. We understand it's Prabhupada's books, his translations, and his power came through his spiritual master. And we have this understanding. But says, I didn't write these. So he's reading this. It's empowered information. It's empowered knowledge, and it's very direct to the age because it was done in the 70s. I was going to try and do quick math. Done in the 60s and 70s, these purports. Quite astonishing. A real quick story, and before I finish up and try and wrap all this round back into the verses, is the first time I went to India, I was very fortunate enough to have stayed in Kolkata for a couple of nights in the Bhaktivedanta Research Institute, I believe it's called, which was started by Hari Sori. It was his baby, I guess, and now it's run by these wonderful, wonderful devotees there. And I've never been much of a pundit, much of a reader, but I thought I had some semblance of an understanding of things. And I went in there, and just the size of my ego just went from then down to nothing. Just the books that were there. Not just the scale. It's not a large place, but what was in there? It had Bhaktivinoda Thakur's original handwritten diaries where he wrote these bhajans that we sing. It's got at the back, it's got Gadadhar Pandit's writing on the palm leaves that they've all, kept, and it's got Mahaprabhu's little annotations down the bottom. They've got the Sajjana Toshini, Sajjana Toshini, what was Bhakti Siddhanta's, the Nadia Prakash, a daily newsletter that came out, and he did that for years and compiled literally from here up to this 2 rows in big red folios that they've done. It's just the wealth of knowledge there. And then you go around the corner. That's where I freaked out. It was Bhakti Siddhanta's personal library. Why did I freak out? Because so many different editions of the Bhagavatam, different editions of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, different editions of all these texts that we take for granted as going, there is one authoritative edition of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is now. It wasn't. It was, but it's like from different commentators in our Acharya lineage. And so he had this full understanding, and then he reduced that to the point of telling Prabhupada to go to the West and translate and preach to the Western world. And we heard even yesterday, and it reminded me, it wasn't just the West as far as just America, it's all over the world with this, the condensed version, and it's still so much. It's amazing that's there, and just this knowledge that had to be refined to the point of us being able to read this here today, like this, and for us to approach this, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. You've got to serve the book Bhagavata as well as the devotee Bhagavat. It's really important, and to do that, Krishna will empower us with the knowledge that we need, not that we want, the knowledge that we need at this particular point in time in our bhakti, in our life, in devotion, like this. So Krishna is achintya, he's inconceivable, but we're trying to conceive the inconceivable, and we're trying to serve him and love him and understand his devotees, so Jai and Vijay, the four Kumaras, even the different demons that they became, we're trying to understand, so how can we become less like those demons? All these things that come off of just this origin story like that. It's very wonderful. So as Prabhupada says, you take shelter, become humble, practice your Krishna consciousness, perfect your life in this one lifetime, and go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Any questions, comments, corrections? I would love to hear it. I think we have a working microphone still. Please, because then we can have it on the Nitya Leela of YouTube.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice class.
Thank you,
very
Matthew.
nice. Thank you. I just want to know the parikrama definition that you have given.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that's very beautiful.
Yeah, of course. So it was it wasn't even part of a word for word like this, but it says in the Skanda Purana is got it laid out because it has this. So pradakshina. Pra is to dispel sin, da bestows what is desired, kshi causes destruction of karma, and na bestows salvation. You can just have this if you want, and you can have it there as a reference. I don't need that anymore, but that's okay. Nah? Okay. Well, if not, I can read this one thing because this. All right, super. All right. There's so much in these verses. That's the thing. It's like, what happened before? What happened afterwards? But that's the whole point of these classes, isn't it? Our Srila Prabhupada, a friend to all. So why this is? It's not necessarily integral to the verse today. It was just more because I'm still fired up from yesterday. It was really sweet. And it's also that mood of taking on the mood of the Vaishnavas, taking on the mood of, like this service attitude that they have. So it's the very last entry in this book. It was actually written by Mula Prakriti Devidasi, and it's not like, go and buy this book. I've got no affiliation with it. It's just really wonderful. And it's actually a poem that was presented by Srimati Devi Shakti Devidasi of Vrindavan, the original Devi Shakti. So, Haribo, Srimati Gita Devi Saraf, this lady here, she's the one that donated, her and her husband, but pretty much it was just her, donated the land that Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan is on. So she's very important to our ISKCON. And there's entries. This book is all interviews done with people that knew Prabhupada when he was a grihasta or a vanaprastha, sannyas, all this. So it spans decades, these people that knew him. The milkman in Vrindavan that delivered to his father when it was just Abhay Charan, and all this. Really sweet. But this poem is really wonderful because it to me, it's this taking on the mood of what does the spiritual master want from us? What is our ISKCON? What is our Srila Prabhupada? And the mood and the effect that he has on people. And when you approach and have him, like in this Vaishnava qualities, the opulences of a Vaishnava that we talk about. No questions? I can just do it. All right. Okay, so the following poem was offered by Devi Shakti Devidasi to Srila Prabhupada on his disappearance day on October 28, 2003. It describes in confidence, a confidence Srila Prabhupada shared with Mrs. Saraf, so the lady who donated this land like this. We know Srila Prabhupada as our loving father and address each other as God sister and God brother. He captured many more souls than us with his love and trust. Today I'll tell you one short story till now has been all hush. One respected devotee, Srimati Gita Devi. She gave this land to Prabhupada despite her husband's plea. As a surrendered soul, she depended on her deity to make the right decision, and here we sit today, is in Vrindavan. Now one would think that with such a donation she could have been blessed beyond imagination, with wealth, sons, home, and worldly happiness, but she knew these things would not free her from her distress. Now alone and elderly, she seeks our company, so when she called me one night, I felt it was my duty. She asked me to go to the Ganga with her. I reluctantly agreed, on behalf of Srila Prabhupada, to help her in a time of need. Traveling late at night, we were far from Vrindavan. To risk my life like this, I wondered why I'd even gone. On that dark, lonely road, we spoke of Krishna to allay my fears. Then we finally reached a town. She looked at me with tears. She said, "You know, Srila Prabhupada was just like my own father. He cared for me, and that was why I gave to him and no other. He told me a secret one day when we were all alone. I'll tell you what he said to me. It's something you should know. I came to see him one evening. He was sitting in his garden. Devotees sat by his feet, secretary and servants all round. As I came close, he smiled at me and then told them all to go. I sat near his lotus feet, and this is what he told. Krishna sent me here to preach. He sent me from above. With English, Bengali, and Hindi, I could preach all over the world. I've almost finished. And soon I'll return to him. He told her this in 1976, and after that, our lives went dim. I was amazed Srila Prabhupada revealed this secret to her alone. She knew he came from Krishna and would soon be going home. Such wisdom was not wasted on an ordinary jiva. His blessing was hers from Prabhupada, confidentially. As we drove, she took my hand and made a simple wish. She asked me in sincerity, "Please teach me to speak English." "But Gita Devi, you're so old. Your precious time will be wasted." "No," she said. "I also want to preach, as Prabhupada did." I looked at her in amazement. She really wanted to preach. She had been transformed by receiving Srila Prabhupada's grace. By associating with fire, one becomes like fire, I saw. Her desire to preach like Prabhupada in an old woman bereft of all. The inspiration she received from a moment of Prabhupada's love reminds us how